on AMC True Crime.
Two girls are fighting. One is very bloody.
On August 11th, 2022, in a quiet Georgia apartment complex, a phone call would expose the dark side of jealousy. A 30-year-old mother from New York lay dying in the street. Her attackers? They had filmed the entire brutal assault themselves. What you're about to hear is the story of Ashley Bocanegra, a woman whose search for a better life led her into a deadly love triangle. But to understand how we got here, we need to go back to where it all began. Ashley Bocanegra had dreams. Big dreams for herself and her 7-year-old son. In 2022, she made a bold decision, leaving the familiar streets of the Bronx behind for the promise of something better in Beaufort, Georgia. Those who knew Ashley described her as ambitious, independent, and devoted. She was the kind of mother who always made sure her son got the best. At Floor & Decor, where she worked as a manager, Ashley was building the foundation for their new life. But the night shift at her job would introduce her to someone who would change everything. Daniel Gonzalez, a co-worker with his own complicated story. Daniel wasn't single. He was engaged to 27-year-old Antonetta Stevens, living in a cramped apartment with their 2 young sons and Daniel's teenage sister, Janine. It was a household held together by routine and responsibility, until Ashley walked into Daniel's world. What started as casual conversation between co-workers, sharing relationship struggles, late-night work shifts, slowly evolved into something deeper. Something dangerous. Ask yourself, have you ever made a decision that seemed harmless at the time, but changed your life forever? For months, Daniel lived a double life. By day, he was the devoted fiancé and father. By night, he was Ashley's secret romantic partner. Both believed they could keep their worlds separate. They were wrong. Julian Reyes, Ashley's former partner and the father of her son, suspected something was different about Ashley, but he didn't push. They were co-parenting now, making it work for their child's sake. But in Daniel's household, suspicion was growing into something much more dangerous. Antonetta Stevens had women's intuition, and it was screaming at her that something wasn't right. Daniel's explanations didn't add up. His late nights, his distant behavior, the way he guarded his phone. Then came the moment that would seal Ashley's fate. 17-year-old Janine Gonzalez, Daniel's sister, knew about the affair. And in August 2022, she made a choice that would turn suspicion into deadly certainty. She told Antonetta everything. What happened next would prove that sometimes, the most dangerous person isn't a stranger in the dark. It's someone who feels betrayed by the person they love most. August 10th, 2022. Armed with the truth, Antonetta and Janine decided to see this other woman for themselves. They drove to the Quick Trip near Floor & Decor, and there they were, Daniel and Ashley, walking together during his lunch break. The same lunch break Daniel had told Antonetta he couldn't take. The confrontation was immediate, heated, public, but it was just the preview of what was to come. The next morning, while Daniel slept, Antonetta made her move. She took his phone, scrolling through months of messages that confirmed her worst fears. But rather than confront Daniel, Antonetta and Janine hatched a different plan. A plan that would lure Ashley into a trap she'd never see coming. Posing as Daniel, Antonetta began typing. The messages were calculated, designed to prey on Ashley's emotions. "I'm getting kicked out because of our affair," she wrote. "I need to see you." Ashley, believing she was rushing to comfort the man she cared about, had no idea she was walking into an ambush. At 1 p.m. on August 11th, Ashley arrived at the Preston Hills apartment complex. She expected to find Daniel. Instead, she found Janine with a camera rolling and Antonetta consumed by rage. What happened next was captured on video by Janine herself, a decision that would ultimately seal both their fates in court. The footage is too graphic to show in its entirety, but what investigators saw was clear. This wasn't a mutual fight. This was a premeditated assault. "I will murder you," Antonetta screamed as she attacked Ashley, who had no chance to defend herself against the ambush. Ashley, petite and caught completely off guard, fell to the ground as Antonetta pulled her down by her hair. While Ashley screamed and tried to shield herself, Antonetta continued her assault, taunting her victim. "Say hi to Daniel. He said I could come out here and **** you up." In the background, 17-year-old Janine wasn't just filming, she was laughing. Encouraging. When Antonetta asked if she wanted to join in, Janine didn't hesitate. The teenager marched over to Ashley, who lay helpless on the pavement and delivered vicious kicks to her midsection and back. What they didn't know was that those kicks would prove fatal. But they weren't done. As Ashley lay battered in the street, they stole her phone, claiming they wanted to use it to expose her affair to her family. An apartment complex employee, driving by on a golf cart, saw the attack and called 911. "Two girls are fighting," they reported, "and one is very bloody." But by then, the real damage had already been done. Despite her injuries, Ashley followed her attackers back to their apartment. She needed her phone back. When Daniel finally answered the door, he was shocked by what he saw. Ashley's face was swollen, bloody, barely recognizable. Stunned, he initially closed the door on her, then reopened it to return her phone. Ashley staggered back to her own apartment, where surveillance cameras captured her groaning, struggling to breathe. She called Julian, her son's father, to tell him what had happened. The text messages Ashley sent to Daniel after the attack paint a heartbreaking picture. "I'm struggling to breathe. It feels like my heart is skipping beats. I'm going to urgent care." She told him she'd been fine until Janine kicked her in the back, near her heart and chest. Ashley thought she would recover. She had no idea that internally, she was bleeding to death. At Memorial Hospital, Ashley was conscious, alert, even able to speak to investigators by phone. She told them the truth. This hadn't been a mutual fight. She'd been ambushed, attacked by two people while trying to defend herself. But as doctors worked to assess her condition, Ashley's body was failing. The internal injuries were catastrophic. She was airlifted to another hospital for emergency surgery. By the time she arrived, Ashley could no longer breathe on her own. She was placed on a ventilator. Hours later, before she could even make it into the operating room, Ashley Bocanegra was dead. When investigators returned to notify Antonetta and Janine of Ashley's death, their reactions told the whole story. Antonetta seemed surprised but quickly tried to maintain her lie. "It was a mutual altercation after she showed up to my apartment. She died," Antonetta said dismissively when told the news. "Okay, wow, I'm so sorry about that. That was not my intention." She immediately tried to blame Ashley for showing up here, then complained about her own mental health struggles. But it was Janine's reaction that truly shocked investigators. Throughout her police interview, the 17-year-old laughed, smiled, and showed absolutely zero remorse. She casually described the attack as if it were a minor scuffle. When told she was being charged with murder, Janine's jaw dropped. "Me," she gasped. "I barely laid hands on her. All I did was pull her hair." What Janine didn't realize, what the medical examiner would later confirm, was that her kicks had delivered the fatal blow. Ashley died from internal bleeding caused by trauma to her adrenal gland. But investigators had more than just witness statements. They had something even more damning: the defendant's own phones. Digital forensics revealed the truth that Antonetta and Janine had tried so hard to hide. Text messages showed the deliberate deception, Antonetta posing as Daniel to lure Ashley to the apartment. Video from Janine's own phone captured them sitting outside, waiting for their victim to arrive. It showed Antonetta typing the messages that would bring Ashley to her death. When confronted with this evidence, both women's stories crumbled. Janine had claimed she didn't know about the plan to lure Ashley, but her own phone proved she was not just complicit, but an active participant in documenting the entire scheme. The most heartbreaking evidence came from Daniel himself. When detectives told him Ashley had died, this man, who had been living a double life, who had caused so much pain, broke down completely. 3 young boys were now without mothers. Ashley's 7-year-old son would grow up without the woman who had moved across the country to give him a better life. Daniel's 2 sons would grow up knowing their mother was in prison for murder. In 2023, both Antonetta Stevens and Janine Gonzalez pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter. They each received 20-year prison sentences, with release dates set for August 2042. Some viewed this as justice. Others felt it was too lenient, given the premeditated nature of their attack and the fact that Ashley lost her life. But perhaps the most telling moment came later, when Janine, serving her sentence for taking a life, somehow managed to post a smiling video of herself on TikTok from prison. The image confirmed what investigators had seen all along. She felt no remorse for her actions. Meanwhile, Ashley's family grieves. Her son grows up with only memories and stories of the mother who sacrificed everything to give him a better life. Ashley Bocanegra's story forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about jealousy, betrayal, and the devastating consequences of letting emotions spiral into violence. She was a woman trying to build a better life, who made the mistake of getting involved with someone who wasn't free to love her back. But that mistake should never have cost her everything. In the end, this case reminds us that the most ordinary moments, a text message, a workplace friendship, a decision to answer the door, can change lives forever. Ashley came to Georgia seeking opportunity. Instead, she found tragedy. Her story stands as a stark reminder that sometimes the price of love can be fatal. The question that haunts everyone who knew Ashley is this: if she had known the truth about what awaited her that August afternoon, would she have stayed in bed when those text messages arrived? We'll never know. But Ashley's story will serve as a warning that jealousy left unchecked, deception left to fester, and violence left unchallenged can destroy not just one life, but many. Ashley Bocanegra was 30 years old. She deserved to see her son grow up. She deserved her fresh start. She deserved justice. To stay informed on cases please like this video, share it with those who might be impacted by these stories, and subscribe to AMC True Crime. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode as we continue to explore the intricate, often heartbreaking, realities of true crime. Your support helps us bring these stories to light, respectfully and with integrity. Thank you for watching.